The Faithful Fanatic is live. We're joined by special guest Eric Crocker. If you're on 49ers Twitter, you know Eric Crocker or Croc. If you don't, born and raised in Stockton, was with the Jets in the NFL for a little bit, played in the Arena Football League with the San Jose Sabercats when they were still around, won a championship with them in 2015. Eric, thank you so much for being on with us today. We appreciate it.
Oh man, I'm happy to be on. I see y'all. I come on here. I tune in. I've been in there a few times. Just watching y'all chop it up. I talk with Marco all the time, so I had to come on and show some love.
Right on. We appreciate it again. Let's open things up by talking about Deshaun Watson. So there's a lot of news regarding Deshaun Watson right now. There's been speculation throughout the week, earlier today, that he's not happy with Houston. And then Ian Rappaport dropped a tweet earlier this afternoon saying that he has not spoken to the Houston Texans brass for a couple days, has kind of gone MIA. He was supposed to be involved in the process of hiring a new general manager, a new head coach, and none of that happened. So he's not happy right now. Our opening question is Deshaun Watson becoming available a reality?
Man, sometimes these things happen where you have a superstar that's a little disgruntled. I would expect them to be able to, try to smooth things over and stuff. I'm pretty sure he's somebody who loves Houston. Seems like he does a lot of community work in that area. Yeah. Houston is a great place to be. I visited Houston. There's a lot of culture there. That's not a place where you just want to leave, being down there in Texas, that's a great environment to be in. But, I read what Adam Schefter put down, and you can't do him like that for somebody. Yeah. And again, it wasn't so much that he wanted to have the final say or anything like that. He just wanted to, hey, I just want to be involved. I want to help like this. I'm your guy long term. When everybody else leaves, I'm still gonna be here. I'm the superstar quarterback. I just want to, hey, is there any way I can help? Can I have some type of input? Maybe game plan, some certain things that I feel fit my certain skill set and that can elevate my game. And maybe guys he's been around or heard from other players, because players talk. So guys know, hey, this coach, he's real cool, or this coach, yada, 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 or nah, he's terrible. So guys know from that standpoint. So he just wanted to give his perception from a player standpoint. And they kind of robbed him of that. And I think he felt kind of like, man, we've had this issue for a while now with Bill O'Brien, where he just had the final say in everything that went on. And now, I wanted to be involved in this. Like, I'm your guy. And you basically just say, nah, you're not important in this decision making. We're just gonna hire the guy we want and move on and move from there. So he felt some type of way. They're gonna have to try to smooth things over a little bit, but I mean, we'll see how that works out. I if I had to guess, I'd expect them to do just that, but that's a situation for him.
And the thing is too, though, is that they don't like the Easter by guy. I don't know how to say his name, but he's in the building. No one likes him. That's the word on the street. No one likes him. They hired Nick Cassero, who supposedly was an Easter by guy. He's came from the Patriots, and then Deshaun Watson's preaching for Eric Bieniemy, preaching for him, like, hey, let's get this dude in. Patrick Mahomes says nothing but good things about him. The whole team that he talks to says nothing but good things about him. And they don't even want to interview the dude. Like, for me, that's my problem. It's like Cal McNair publicly went to Deshaun Watson and said, we want you during the process to help us out. And then you do that to him. I think you're already, first of all, they've had problems with the ownership as it is from the racial comments they've said. Deshaun Watson's one of those dudes who publicly has spoke up on it. And I think if they keep pushing his buttons, he's going to force his way out. You can't be treating your franchise guy like he's a nobody off the streets, in my opinion.
Right. I mean, we've seen situations. I mean, another guy out there in Houston, James Harden, where he gets everything and it's still not enough, right? Like, they give him the input, the favorite guys he wants, with any of these guys, man, like they, especially him, like I said, he's the one guy that you're supposed to be building all this stuff around. And you would at the very least think that they would value his opinion enough to, take some of his, consideration for who he likes and stuff. The fact that they didn't, that's kind of a slap in the face. That's a slap in the face. And if he already has had issues with other people in that building, especially like the owner and stuff like that, I again, I think it's a long shot, but there could be a way where he kind of forces a way out and says, you know what, I'm not happy. I don't want to be here. Y'all can trade me because I'm not playing or something, And it sucks that he just signed a massive contract.
That's wild. And just to talk about James Harden, I was listening to the radio the other day. They were talking about how he had so much pull in Houston, still does, that he would dictate when the bus would leave. Like, that's how much power James Harden has with the Rockets. He tells people the bus is leaving at this time, or you're waiting for me. I can't see Deshaun Watson being like that. But the reason I feel like it could become a reality is because cleaning up Bill O'Brien's mess. They have the 3rd overall pick in the draft that now belongs to the Dolphins. They have no draft picks coming up. So that's whoever comes in is going to have to decide, do I want my franchise quarterback, or do I want to have all these draft picks where I can try to find another franchise quarterback, but at half the price, a fraction of the cost of Deshaun Watson. So that's why I think it's slightly a reality, but at the end of the day, he's Deshaun freaking Watson. He won a national championship with Clemson. He is a very good quarterback in the NFL. He's an established franchise quarterback. So that's why if I'm the 49ers and if he does become available, I would send 3-4 first-round picks, because you don't have to worry about that position for the next 10 years, barring injury. So it's a no-brainer to me in that sense. How are you feeling, Croc? Would you give up that much draft capital to get your hands on Watson if he becomes available? He's not available at the moment. If he does,
I would give up the draft capital. But if I'm the Houston Texans, I don't want it. It's so hard to get a franchise quarterback. So
yeah, it is.
Once you have one, you kind of got to hold on to that guy. So you're disgruntled. We're gonna have to figure this out. 3 first-round draft picks. We don't know what that's gonna be. These, you can trade for the 49ers 12 pick and maybe use some picks to move up and get a quarterback. But even if you move up, we don't know what that guy is going to be, right? You know exactly what Deshaun Watson is. So if I'm the Texans, there's no amount of draft picks that makes me comfortable trading him away for. I'm not doing it. If I'm them, I'm not doing it. I have to hold on to him. They have to figure out a way to make him happy, because again, no amount of draft picks is going to look at the Raiders. They got all those picks for Khalil Mack, and what good has come from it?
Nothing.
They still make the playoffs every year. They still suck in December. Their
defense is trash.
Now it benefited the Bears. They went to the playoffs. Obviously, they missed it this year. They need to tighten some things up at quarterback. But the trade, initially worked out for them, but it hasn't worked out for the Raiders. And by now, all those picks are used up and everything. And the Bears have their picks again. And the Raiders have nothing else from that moving forward, except for the faith that maybe some of these guys would develop into big-time players that helped them win. But where they're at right now, they traded away Khalil Mack. I guess that they'd be 2 or 3 wins better with somebody like Mack that's able to take care of change games and wins. And I mean, even when he was playing with the Raiders, had some sack strips to close out games and win games. So again, when you have a player like that, if I'm Houston, there's no amount of draft picks that makes me comfortable trading him.
That's a good point. And I think even turning things around and putting yourself in the shoes of the Houston Texans, if I'm the owner, I'm almost saying whoever I bring in as the general manager, you cannot trade Deshaun Watson. He means too much to the city of Houston. He is arguably the most glorious player that's ever played in the Houston Texans uniform, right up there with J.J. Watt.
J.J. Watt.
J.J. Watt. As far as the offensive side, on the offensive side of the ball, we had Andre Johnson. He was there for a little bit, but Deshaun Watson just represents so much hope for this franchise to be able to be a contender once they figure things out. So it would be awful for the Texans to trade Deshaun Watson. They have their reasons to, draft picks being the main one, and any team that lands Deshaun Watson, regardless of what they give up, it's going to be a huge steal. He's a bona fide franchise quarterback. And again, if he becomes available, I would support the 49ers decision of giving up multiple first-round picks if he becomes available.
Yeah, if I'm the 49ers, I'm definitely, again, I don't expect them to move on from him. Again, like I said, if I'm Houston Texans, there's no amount of draft picks that would make me feel comfortable enough to trade away my franchise quarterback. But if I'm the 49ers, I'm calling for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what do you guys want? How can we make this work? You know, we've seen that the 49ers have poked at players when available. They did it with Khalil Mack, right? And even to the extent of John Lynn saying, hey, I think we had a better offer on the table. But the Raiders, I think, thought that the Bears would have the higher draft pick. You know, you look at what they've done acquiring Jimmy Garoppolo. You know, they haven't been frugal with, you know, giving up draft picks to get players that they want. And when they are really interested in the guy, they are willing to kind of, you know, offer up some draft picks and stuff. So, you know, it's not like they have a top 5 pick this year where it's like, this is a little too valuable. 12th overall pick. And, you know, I think if I'm the 49ers, I look at it like, well, shit, if I have Watson, I'm not picking at the top of anything
25 latest.
So you can have, I mean, we just see it with the Seattle Seahawks, right? Seahawks, same thing. What, like, okay, Jets, you want 2 first-round draft picks for Jamal Adams? All right, you can have them because they're going to be late first-round picks anyways. So if I'm the 49ers, you know, I definitely would, you know, okay, what do y'all want? 3 first-round draft picks and a second? All right, take it.
So if I'm in Houston, I don't send them away at all. I mean, the whole 49ers Twitter always talks about if you have the right quarterback, it makes up for the holes you have on your team. What difference does it make for Houston? He's with the number 2, second best quarterback in the league. If you get the right coaching staff in that building, they're a playoff team with Deshaun Watson with the right coaching staff. Fact. I don't care what anyone says. Like, Deshaun Watson should not be sitting at freaking 3rd overall pick every year. They need to get the right coaching staff, figure that out first, and then move from there, because no way they're sending Deshaun Watson unless he goes publicly saying, I'm not playing here. I don't care what they say. I'm not playing here. And if he does that, that's the only way they can move him.
And their defense was atrocious too. That was another big issue that they ran into this year.
They have a lot of holes. So it's unknown yet whether or not Deshaun Watson will become available. Let's talk about what we know. So under contract right now, you have Jimmy Garoppolo. There are a lot of questions regarding who's going to be the quarterback. Is it going to be Jimmy Garoppolo? He spoke out at the exit press conference saying he's the 49ers quarterback. He feels like he's with this team moving forward, whether or not that was just player speak. And if he knows something different, who knows? What's your take on the 49ers' current quarterback situation? Should they rock with Jimmy Garoppolo another year, draft the rookie? How do you see the quarterback position playing out, Crocker?
I think there's 2 ways to look at it, right? There's like, okay, what would I do, and what do I think they're going to do? And what I feel like they're going to do is a little bit more logical. At the end of the day, when you have Jimmy Garoppolo and he's playing and he's healthy, you know that you are capable of going to the playoffs, right? Like, I mean, that's what he's shown them. When he plays, he wins. That's what his overall record says. So, you know, maybe you might need things to be a little real good around you. But even this year, 49ers had one of the top defenses in the league. They have some solid weapons. I think that's good enough for Jimmy Garoppolo to still lead this team to the playoffs. So they know at the very least they have that in their pocket. So it's like, I'm not letting that go just to let that go, just because people feel like, oh, we need to upgrade at this position. So if I had to bet money, I'm saying that they're keeping Jimmy Garoppolo and they are banking on him being the starter, unless something really just lands in their lap. Like Garoppolo did, right? Like, I think you only know what you know. And right now, they probably have no idea what's going on with a guy like Matthew Stafford or whatever, right? We don't know that situation. They don't have a GM or a head coach or anything. So nobody knows if a guy like him is even available. But hypothetically speaking, they hire a head coach. They get a GM, and the GM starts calling around, hey, who wants Matthew Stafford? I think that would be a situation that they would have to jump on. And if it costs them the 12th overall pick, so be it. And maybe you can move Jimmy Garoppolo somewhere that he wants to go to for, you know, like a 3rd round pick or something like that. But, you know, unless it's something like that where it's just like, oh my gosh, look, we got this amazing gift of Matthew Stafford. Like, unless it's something like that, I fully expect Jimmy Garoppolo to be the starting quarterback week 1.
What would you do? So you talk about what the 49ers are going to do. What would you do?
Oh, man. Okay, so it's a little boomer bust, but I would. Okay, so this is my ideal way of thinking, like how I would ideally do it. I would bring in somebody like Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think that he's somebody that's good enough as a backup. Now, again, 49ers are kind of up against the cap, so I don't even know if that's kind of possible. But I try to make that work to where at least I have a backup that I strongly believe in the sense of being able to be functional in the offense, right? We just watched Mullins, we watched Beathard, and it was kind of really like clunky looking, right? Like not the offense that Kyle wants to run. It was really dumbed down and everything like that. Fitzpatrick is somebody that is capable of kind of turning the ball over a lot, but he also makes a lot of throws that can really help you win games. We saw that late in the Raiders game. 49ers don't really have that type of quarterback right now backing up. And obviously I think Jimmy Garoppolo is the only quarterback that's technically under contract. But I would have him back up Jimmy. So I go into offseason OTAs with Jimmy Garoppolo and Fitzpatrick. I feel comfortable about that. Jimmy, you are our guy. We've been saying that all along. You're our guy. So, going to the season with you, this guy right here, don't worry about him. He's just there just in case you get hurt, which I think that's been the case, right? Anytime Fitzpatrick comes is a backup, like the starter gets hurt or whatever, like every year.
It sounds about right for him, yeah.
But as I go into the draft, I am calling. Can I move up? Can I move up to pick 4? Can I move up to pick 5? Is there a chance where I can get somebody that I really loved when we had our interviews? I'm watching, oh man, Justin Fields, he just blew away Alabama in the national championship. What a good game. Can I move up to a top 5 pick to get one of those guys that I feel like really moves the needle? And if so, hell yeah, I grab one of those guys. And then I move on from Garoppolo and I have Fitzpatrick. And then I have my rookie who is going to be my guy for the next 10 years or whatnot. But if I can't trade up because there is no guarantee that you can trade up, then I draft a cornerback in the first round, maybe draft somebody, second or third round, a quarterback or whatever. But I go into the season with Garoppolo and Fitzpatrick. And that's kind of how I would do it.
Yeah, I like that idea because go ahead, Nick.
I was just going to say, I was thinking about this the other day. The 49ers, if they get the backup, I love the idea of Ryan Fitzpatrick. It was something I was advocating for a couple months ago. If you have a solid backup there, you sign one, the 49ers are almost in a position at quarterback where they can't lose. Jimmy Garoppolo last year was top 5 in most statistical categories. If the worst thing you can do is enter next season with Jimmy Garoppolo, I'd say you've done pretty good for yourself. And that's the worst thing, and the 49er fan base, 49ers Twitter, it's the worst thing that can happen for Jimmy Garoppolo coming back next year. And this is a guy that just went 13-3. He can really run Kyle Shanahan's offense at a very high level when he's healthy. But of course, he gets hurt far too often than any starting quarterback in the NFL should get hurt. So if you have that fallback option like a Ryan Fitzpatrick in place, I'm all for that. Marcus Mariota signed a deal with the Raiders knowing that Derek Carr was there. He got like $9 million annually, I want to say. So Fitzpatrick could be costly, but I love the logic. You have the quarterback backing up Garoppolo, who's injury prone, and then moving up in the draft, having that option as well because free agency comes before the draft. I love that thought process. It's something I can get on board with. And when you look at names like Matt Ryan, I have no interest in Matt Ryan. I was on the show with Grant earlier today talking about that. Matt Ryan's not enticing to me. There's just not a lot of guys you could imagine becoming available. Matthew Stafford's a name that everybody's going to keep an eye out on.
And we don't know. But everybody's throwing his name out there, but there is absolutely nothing. Yeah. To me, in my eyes, Matthew Stafford is just as available as
Deshaun Watson.
Or not even Deshaun, as Patrick Mahomes, right? We know Patrick Mahomes is not available. And I think Matthew Stafford, until I hear somebody come out and say that from the Lions, I look at it the same. Like, why would anybody move on from Matthew Stafford? Especially a new head coach and GM taking over the Lions. Why would I want to move him? So I don't even think that that's really a possibility. And I don't know how, it got to be something so polarizing. But yeah, so I'm sorry to cut you off, but yeah, that's something too.
No, you're right.
I don't even see that. Same thing with Matt Ryan. What? Because he's older and he knows, and he played under Kyle Shanahan before, so now all of a sudden he's just available. Like, man, like I haven't heard that.
Yeah, Marco, go ahead.
If Robert Saleh takes that Lions job, no way Matthew Stafford is being traded anywhere. Robert Saleh's going to go in as a competitor he is, and he's going to fix that defense and take them to the playoffs. Why would you send away a franchise quarterback? That's just unrealistic. But for me, going into the quarterback room next year, you have to have somebody who could back Jimmy up. It has to be because, yes, we know Jimmy runs. It's not Kyle Shanahan's offense. It's a Jimmy G version of Kyle Shanahan's offense. This is not Kyle's offense. Kyle's offense is being ran in Green Bay, and that's Kyle's offense. Kyle's offense is push the ball downfield, run the ball. It's stretch the field every single aspect. So right now, we're not seeing Kyle's offense. So if Kyle can get
we're not seeing
full capacity.
People think that because the West Coast offense and quick slants and stuff like that. So now everybody because they want to like what Jimmy is doing so bad is no, this is how it's supposed to be ran. It's quick passes, get the ball out, and it's that was it in the 90s. Look at Andy Reid. Andy Reid runs a variation of West Coast offense. He came in under these guys. He's throwing the ball downfield. Now he can if this is what you're going to give him. We saw that week 1 against the Texans. Everything was 5-10 yards. Everything. Even with having Patrick Mahomes. If that's what you're going to give us, and that's what we're going to take. But at his full capacity, we want to throw the ball downfield. We want to push it downfield. That's what we saw with Kyle Shanahan. Not just with Atlanta. I think everybody thinks that. Even with Washington, with RG3, throwing the ball down the field. Obviously, they did their read option and stuff, but they would let it fly. What we've seen with Jimmy Garoppolo, it's what a good coordinator, a good coach should do. You know what? This is not a strength of his. Yeah, we can dial up deep shots that I feel like I can scheme up to get open, but he's not somebody that's going to be comfortable throwing the ball downfield. And just to throw downfield, if you ever watch Pittsburgh Steelers, they throw bomb after bomb after bomb, vertical shot. Garoppolo doesn't seem like he's comfortable with doing that. So everything that they do has to 100% be dialed up. And if it's not, it looks a little weird. We saw some bad interceptions by Jimmy against the Dolphins. And again, I don't want to put too much on him with that. He was having an injury. They said he wasn't healthy, even though the next week he was. I don't know. But as you can see, man, it's just at any time does Jimmy Garoppolo look comfortable throwing downfield? I don't think so. So I think Kyle does a really good job of, that's not really his thing. Throwing outside the numbers, not really his thing. Let's just keep everything to what he does very well. And he can do that at an efficient enough level to win games. But when teams start when they start clouding that area and making him throw into tighter and tighter and tighter windows, he'll make it. But he'll also make those boneheaded mistakes of missing a linebacker that's right there, or throwing passes and it might go off a receiver's hand, and they know tips and overthrows, that's interceptions. So that's why I think he throws, or, he has so many turnover-worthy plays and whatnot, because the whole field is so condensed for him. When you watch other teams, the field is not condensed in that aspect. Everything is more spread out. Quarterbacks aren't throwing so many contested passes or so many interceptable balls because it's outside the numbers and stuff. And Jimmy, I don't want to say he can't do that, but they don't look like they're comfortable doing that with him.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yesterday, there was the clip that went viral among 49er fans of Zach Wilson talking on some show when he was asked what scheme, what offense would he like to play in. And of course, he mentioned Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers offense. So Zach Wilson's one of 3 prospects that the 49ers could potentially trade up for. Looking at Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence is out of the question. Trey Lance, who's your favorite quarterback aside from Trevor Lawrence? Or maybe Trevor Lawrence isn't your favorite quarterback in this draft. Who do you like? If the 49ers can move up for one of these guys, who would you target? Who's your preference?
I don't know, man. I like all, obviously the 3 guys that you just named the most, with, Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields. If I had to say, my 1 and 2 is definitely between Fields and Lawrence. I don't know who I have above who. I do feel like people think that it's just cut, dry and clear. Oh, it's just Trevor Lawrence. And it's like, why? Everybody just has pegged him as this guy that's untouchable and stuff. And he is a really good prospect. But what does, I had tweeted this out before the Clemson Ohio State game. And I was like, hey, I think Justin Fields is the most talented, or I didn't say he's the most talented. I said, there's nobody in this class that's more talented than Justin Fields. And a lot of people the way that they view Trevor Lawrence is like, dude, you guys act like he's just so untouchable. You know, if you just line them up and had them do the same thing, whether it's, hey, let's see who has the bigger arm. Let's see who's more athletic. Let's see who can make more tight window throws. Let's see. Like, it's not just clear cut that it's going to be Trevor Lawrence being able to do those things. And we saw that in a head-to-head matchup. So I think there is a discussion that needs to be had between those two guys. But, yeah, I can't say for sure which guy I like more. But I know if Fields balls out against Alabama, it's going to be kind of hard to not put him up. Again, I'm not somebody that just looks at Lawrence. He's a terrific prospect. I think he's done a lot of really good things. But I think his hype is more based off of what we saw from him as a true freshman, playing very well against Alabama and thinking, oh my gosh, like if he's doing this as a true freshman, what is he going to do by the time he's able to come out of college?
Yeah.
And so this is the best prospect ever. And I think people still take that. And now it's just, they've just passed him along as if he has no issues. But we just saw him get outplayed by Fields. And to me, I'm not saying Fields is better, but I'm saying there should be some type of discussion, and more so than how people look at it. But if I'm the 49ers, Fields or Lawrence, obviously I'm really good with either one of them. And if both of those guys go in the top 3 picks, all right, like I wouldn't mind at all trading up for Wilson, because I think he too can elevate this offense to more of what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
I agree. So Wilson will elevate the offense, but let's be realistic. Wilson also talked about the Carolina Panthers more than he did the 49ers. So a lot of the fan base is like, oh, he talked about the Niners. He talked about the Panthers 3 times as much. But if they can't trade up, I'm cool with taking Lance and rolling with a strong arm mobile quarterback. You could develop. And he's in a West Coast offense and at North Dakota. So one of those ones where I'm fine with taking Trey Lance if he falls to 12.
Yeah, I mean, he plays under center. He's able to play with his back to the defense, come under center, play action passes. He throws a beautiful deep ball. He has definitely a strong enough arm, obviously able to make throws off script. He does a lot of things very well. Obviously, the biggest knock on him is, it's in limited time, right? Like limited experience. Yep. He hasn't done this over several years, especially against the competition that he's playing against. But he definitely plays in the offense and was very efficient in that offense. I like him. Not saying I would just trade up to like number 3 or something like that to get him, but I like him enough to where I see exactly how he would fit in Kyle's offense. I think he plays it well. How good can he be in it? I'm not sure, but I do think he opens it up more than what we see from Jimmy Garoppolo. And that's not a slight at Jimmy. I think Jimmy does it well. Obviously, these guys we're talking about as top 10 prospects, they are in theory more talented than a Jimmy Garoppolo. So they're supposed to be able to run an offense at a higher level. And I think Lance, even though small sample size, I think he does a lot of things good, very well. And he has a really high upside. Maybe he needs to sit for a little bit. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. But I know I really like what I've seen on film from him, and I think he does a lot of things very well. Just a limited sample size, not even just from games, just from passing attempts. Like Grant Cohn brought up, hey, 18 pass attempts a game, like that's not a lot.
Nothing.
So there is a little bit of projection there, as in the sense of, hey, if he has to throw the ball 30 times in the game, what's that going to look like? 49ers, I mean, they don't even ask the quarterbacks now to throw 30 times typically. So you never know, but I when you look at his ability and what he's able to do, I like it. He can make those throws from far hash all the way outside the number, deep outs. He drives the ball very well over the middle, drives it very well. Deep shots. He threw this one deep ball from far hash all the way to the corner of the end zone and dropped it in a bucket. And when you see throws like that, it's just like, whoo, like, that's big time. Like that stuff you can't teach. Not even just the ability to make the throw, to have the balls to attempt that throw. You know what I'm saying? So he has a lot of confidence in himself. Obviously, needs to, just gain more experience, however that is, whether it's going to a 49ers with Jimmy Garoppolo already at quarterback and being able to just, get reps and reps and reps, because that's how you get better. The more reps you get, the better you are. But very efficient, 28 touchdowns, 0 interceptions in 1 year at North Dakota State. That's really good. He dominated his competition. And that's one big thing I like to see. Like, okay, you're at a lower level, but he's playing with guys at a lower level too, And are you elevating your guys? Are you dominating? And he did that. So you can't ask for much more.
Trey Lance is the one quarterback I would be reluctant to move up and give up a lot for. But if he's sitting there at 12, I pull the trigger on him. And of course, you're not expecting Trey Lance to come in and start week 1. That's just not realistic given his lack of experience, having only played one football game in almost 2 years from when the regular season starts next year. You know, they played one football game this year. He played a full season last year. You're drafting Trey Lance hoping that he can become a Josh Allen type. And we have seen Josh Allen grow before our eyes. He is one of the most exciting quarterbacks to watch in the NFL right now. And if there's a lot of, this is a good quarterback class. And the one quarterback that's going to take time to develop, like Allen did, remember, he was not very good as a rookie whatsoever. That's Trey Lance. He's going to take time to develop. So I like him there at 12.
Kind of different though. Josh Allen was, he looked like he sucked at Wyoming. Like, so when we talk about competition and stuff, like, you know, obviously you saw the big arm and you saw athleticism, but he wasn't good. Like, he didn't dominate. Like I talked about, Trey Lance dominated his competition. Herbert against the competition he was playing at, what is that, Mountain West? Like, he didn't dominate his competition, and he was very, 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 very pedestrian, even when you look at his numbers. And then when he played against teams that were better, like Oregon and stuff like that, it was terrible. Like, it was terrible. Now he went to the Senior Bowl and it looked fine. And then obviously, like, you know, we've seen what he's developed into, but I wouldn't even, I know people because, you know, maybe, you know, good size and athletic and stuff like that.
That's what it is. That's where the comparisons are drawn from, the size and the arm and the mobility.
But how they like looked, like just the eye test, it wasn't the same because Josh Allen was so erratic. Like, and that continued early into his NFL career where he was really erratic. And he just worked extremely hard to overcome those things. And, you know, that's something that's hard to project, but the Bills bet on it and they won.
Yeah. And to piggyback off of that, so Lance, knowing he's going to need to develop, I draft him in the 10-12 range. I'm not trading multiple picks to get him, you know, top 10. Whereas if Kyle Shanahan loves Zach Wilson or he loves Justin Fields, if he feels that either of those guys are the answer at the quarterback position for the next 10 years, I'd advocate for the team to trade up to secure that guy. That's just how if you feel your guy's there, go get him. Go get him. If that's going to solve your quarterback problems, go ahead and do that. So I think the 49ers are actually in a better place than most people would say regarding the quarterback position. Worst case scenario, you have Jimmy Garoppolo, boo-hoo. The guy just went 13-3 and took you to the Super Bowl. That's not the worst thing in the world. And if a better option comes available, great. So I think the 49ers quarterback situation is not as bad as advertised.
It's not. Fans have tricked themselves in or like made themselves think this guy sucks at quarterback, and he doesn't. He's a solid starter in this league, and you can win with him. So I don't know why people are so hard on him. You know, I think it's because you watch these other guys and you see they can do so much more.
You see what they do, and it seems like the NFL is trending in the direction of mobile quarterbacks, big quarterbacks that are mobile that can make plays outside the pocket. Jimmy Garoppolo can't do that, so he's limited, but he does enough for you to win games. Let's jump into some free agent stuff. So the 49ers have a ton of free agents coming up. The list goes on and on and on. There's the number's around 40 as far as how many guys do not have contracts going into next year.
They technically only have 25 unrestricted free agents. Everyone else are exclusive rights or restricted free agents. Yeah. So I'm not too worried about the other 15 dudes.
So, yeah, to differentiate, unrestricted free agent means that they are free to sign with any team. They can leave the 49ers no problem, whereas a restricted free agent, the 49ers have the opportunity to place a tender on them and match any contract that they're offered. So that's to kind of differentiate the two. So there is about 25, somewhere in that ballpark, unrestricted free agents, then another 15 or so that have the restricted attached to the free agent name. So out of this, and exclusive rights. So out of the 49ers free agents, who would you prioritize? Who is the number one player or the top two, top three that they absolutely must re-sign? They cannot let this player go.
Yeah, with me is Trent Williams, Jason Verrett, and I want to say K'Waun Williams and I think he's very underrated as a slot. I think he's one of the better slots in the league.
Absolutely.
So I want to say him, but I'm actually, because of the uncertainty with D Ford and Blair, I'm gonna go Hyder. It's just, it's important to, you get, and I see somebody say Juice, and obviously like Juice too, he's very heavily involved. But if we're just saying like 3 guys I have to have, I'm definitely going Kawhi Williams, I'm going Verrett because I need that corner, and I'm going pass rusher. And that kind of makes the world go round with football teams. You want to have somebody to protect the quarterback, you want to have somebody get after the quarterback, and you want to have somebody that can guard some receivers. And those are the 3 guys who, to me, you have to really prioritize.
Are you gonna bet on Jason Verrett's health over like what Akilo Witherspoon just did? Because like I know one of the questions me and Nick were gonna ask you was about Akilo and Jason Verrett. Like, is the 5-game stretch that Witherspoon just had, is it legit, or is it the Witherspoon we've seen before?
Well, I think Spoon always has these type of stretches where he plays well for a significant amount of time, and then all of a sudden he has a couple of games where it's a little inconsistent or a little up and down, or he has some plays where it's like, man, what the hell was that, right? And then he'll go on the run again, or if he kind of gets in his own head, then you see him kind of shut it down. But he's somebody that I've always believed in the talent that he possesses. There's not a lot of guys at 6'3", 200 pounds that move the way he does, as fluid as he does, with those type of feet that he does. He just sometimes at the catch point, it gets a little weird. Sometimes he can get a little clumsy. But I like his game, and it's hard. It's hard to kind of really just say, all right, we're going to go all in on this guy because he is inconsistent. But in theory, he should be a guy that you go all in on, because he has showed you stretches of where it's like, damn, this dude's like a top 5 corner in the league.
Yes, he has.
So, but you just kind of don't know which one you're going to get. So it's kind of hard to bet on. No. So I would go with Verrett over Spoon. But and even that's tough because like you drafted this guy, you helped develop this guy, and he's going to go somewhere else, and somebody's going to pay him, and he's probably going to do very well. But I would go with Verrett.
I loved seeing Witherspoon just get up in DK Metcalf's face, and he was just playing with so much swagger over the last couple weeks. It's like, where has this been? You saw it in the beginning of the 2019 season before he got hurt against the Steelers, and I wonder if Emmanuel Mosley stepping in and playing at the high level he was playing at, if that kind of intimidated him a little bit, because it completely threw him off. He was not the same player that he was in the beginning of the season once Emmanuel Mosley stepped into the lineup and kind of did his thing. So I wonder if that has something to do with it. I think you nailed it, though, with your top 3. Trent Williams, if they do not get a deal done with him, and news broke today that they were trying to negotiate a contract prior to the regular season ending because they would have saved some cap space for the upcoming season. That didn't work out. And now Williams is saying that he wants to test the open market and see what he can get. And if you don't have a left tackle, that's a whole other important hole that becomes a glaring need. It's right up there atop the priority list. Not having Trent Williams next year, who are you going to throw out there? Justin School? Justin School got obliterated by the Packers. That's out the window. So left tackle all of a sudden becomes a position you need to consider drafting in the first round. So Trent Williams, without a doubt, is atop that priority list. Number 2, after Trent Williams, it gets a little hazy. You can make a couple strong arguments for Jason Verrett, which I totally agree with. Kyle Juszczyk, even Kerry Hyder, K'Wan Williams. Those are like the top 5 to me. And it's kind of hard to place them because you can say if the 49ers pass rush reverts back to 2019 form, then you don't need to have a top flight corner like Jason Verrett when he's at the top of his game. You can get away with having guys like Emmanuel Mosley, and even Richard Sherman held up well last year. So you can make that argument, and you just kind of got to pick and choose. Do I want to have the pass rush or do I want to have the cornerback? Because it seems like they're going to have to pick between Verrett and Hyder. Juszczyk is such an important piece to the offense, and he's pricey. Was another team going to pay Kyle Juszczyk the money he got with the 49ers the first time around? I don't know, but he seems like a key cog in that offense. That he scored 6 touchdowns this year. He was like how Kendrick Bourne was last year when he was KBTD inside the 10-yard line scoring all those touchdowns. Juszczyk was huge inside the red zone. They're finding new ways to get him the ball, ways that he's always seemed he can get the ball. Now Kyle Shanahan is starting to utilize him more, so you can make strong arguments that he can come back. So we'll see how it all shakes out. Marco, what's your list?
I'm going to go with Trent Williams. If you don't re-sign Trent Williams, what was the point of making the trade and not re-signing him? Because you could have picked up Tristan Wirfs. You could have drafted a future left tackle at Tristan Wirfs, but instead you're going to trade for him and then not re-sign him. That's a big no-no for me because
same thing they did last year with Emmanuel Sanders.
Yep. So it's one of those things where it's a big no-no. Are they going to take a tackle at 12? Who's sitting there at 12? I know there's Slater, the dude Slater from Northwestern, who's supposed to go high. And my second guy, I'd probably have to go Kerry Hyder. I need my pass rush to be taken. I could go in the draft and get a guy like Shaka Toney in the 3rd round, but at the end of the day, I need to know what I'm getting from that guy. Like I already know what Hyder's going to give me with his defensive line. Now adding Bosa to the opposite side, he's going to have more one-on-one reps. So I think those are my 2 guys, Williams and Hyder.
That's a good list. Let's turn things around. Who are some guys or a guy that the 49ers should not resign under any circumstance, that it would just be unnecessary to bring back? And Croc will let you start.
Damn. Is Compton the guard? Is he a free agent?
Yeah, he's a free agent. He's a free agent. That's a good one.
Yeah, he ain't got to come back.
No one's going to fight you on that one, letting go of Tom Compton.
No, I had to choose my words wisely. These guys be DMing me and stuff, man. Like,
we don't want to put you in a position to say things that you don't want to say. So you have the right to pass.
I'll go with Compton. Yeah, man. I don't know.
He's at the Compton. He's at the Compton free agent.
He's like, who's the worst player on the team that's a free agent I can think of that I know will never reach out to me and come at me?
Yeah.
I have a specific name. I came out with a piece today. DJ Jones tweeted on Tuesday, quote unquote, know your worth. We don't know if that has anything to do with his upcoming free agency. I just think it's completely unnecessary to bring back DJ Jones. And if that tweet was about contract negotiations, if he knows his worth, you don't pay him whatever that worth is. You drafted Javon Kinlaw in the 1st round, 14th overall. You had a very promising season from Kevin Givens, who really flashed at times. Kentavious Street had a solid end of the year. This guy, Darian Daniels, who was on the practice squad the majority of the year, stepped up towards the end of the season. I just don't see any reason to bring back DJ Jones. Eric Armstead can kick inside on passing downs. DJ Jones should go get his money. He's a solid interior defensive tackle. He can get a decent paycheck somewhere. He was a 6th-round pick that made it through all 4 years of his rookie contract. That's pretty damn good. So it's his turn to go get his money. I think it should be a mutual parting ways that both the player and the team could feel good about.
I personally think Kevin Givens is better than DJ Jones, so that's why you don't bring him back.
You're not wrong.
I don't want to say he's better, but I don't think that there is much difference between the two.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
There's not much fall off.
DJ Jones does a lot of really good things, and I mean, he's one of the lightest big dudes I've seen on his feet, man. He's able to get back there in a hurry sometimes. So I don't want to say better, but Kevin Givens, man, Givens is nice.
I think Kevin. The reason why I say better is because Kevin Givens gives you more in the pass rush. He could rush the passer a little bit better than DJ Jones does. But my 2 guys, my guy that I'm going to say don't resign, I wasn't going to go Tevin Coleman, but I want to say Trent Taylor. Don't bring him back. That dude's done. Don't bring him
put
back.
A fork in him. Those are good ones. No one's arguing that Tom Compton should get a second contract with the 49ers. Trent Taylor, for all the hype that has been around him, there were multiple 49er beat writers that projected Trent Taylor to have the most catches on the team this year. He was inactive the majority of the games for the second half of the season. So I'm with you. Trent Taylor's time has expired. Tom Compton was an experiment that failed miserably. Time to move on from those guys, and my vote is DJ Jones. We'll wrap things up with an area that will have to be addressed sooner rather than later. We assume from the 49ers, the defensive coordinator spot. Croc, who is your defensive coordinator of choice? And if it differs from what you see the team doing, you can go ahead and lay both scenarios out.
DeMeco Ryans. And, obviously that's kind of like the hot name, but I'll say why I feel like it should be him. One, he has a limited experience coaching, right? Mm-hmm. But the things I do like, one, he's been in the NFL as a linebacker, for 10 years, like playing. And linebackers are very unique in the sense of they have to truly understand the front end and back end, right? Cornerbacks, we know coverage stuff. I know kind of linebackers drops a little bit, but for the most part, I'm more focused on what I'm doing. Linebackers have to understand where guys are dropping, how coverage works and everything. because that works off of them. And then they also have to know front end because they have to know, their stunts, their blitzes, different, things. So they understand exactly how that whole thing moves and what makes it works and what they like. So they come in already, especially somebody like him that played linebacker for so long with an interesting perspective on defense from that standpoint. And then when you look at it like, all right, limited coaching, right? He's only been coaching since 2017. But since 2017, he's been with the 49ers.
Yeah, that's going to be my point too.
The 49ers got there. So when you look at somebody like Robert Saleh, also another former linebacker coach, I'm not saying all linebacker coaches work. I'm just saying, I'm just drawing parallels here. Robert Saleh, this was his first coaching first time plays as a defensive coordinator, right? And do you not think, these are two guys, yeah, okay, DeMeco Ryan, first time coaching, but he's been every single meeting with Robert Saleh, picks Robert Saleh's brain about everything that's going on with the linebackers, right? His linebacker core has probably been the best consistent, the most consistent unit on the entire defense since he's been there, right? And fairly been interchangeable. Even last game, man, you watch those linebackers with Al-Shaair and Demetrius Flanagan. Everybody that plays seems to be playing well. Oh, I wonder why. Oh, it's DeMeco Ryan's coaching them. So, from that standpoint, he's been in every single meeting. He's gone over every single game plan with Robert Saleh. He understands exactly to a T this defense. They've grown together. All the struggles that maybe Robert Saleh had early on, guess who else was there for it? DeMeco Ryan.
Yeah.
Okay, what would you do? Okay, you want to do this different? They bounce things off of each other. Just like you guys probably communicate all the time or we talk, they do the same things times 10. So from a mental standpoint, I would think he understands exactly how to call a plan, defensive plan. I would guess he would have his own way of things that he wants to do things and work things in and stuff from maybe his experiences playing combined with his experiences coaching with the 49ers staff, and he formulate his own scheme that probably the base would probably be the same, but he'd have his things that he likes to do differently. I just think from that standpoint, man, he makes a lot of sense to me. And then on top of that, you got the whole minority thing going on to where, Robert Saleh, if he does get a head coaching job, you get two third round picks next year. Well, DeMeco Ryan, who it sounded like people were trying to poach off the 49ers staff after 1 year, that's why they had to promote him to a linebacker coaching position. People are trying to get him. So now you have somebody who is like, hey, this guy, people look at him and, they kind of hold him to whatever. Now this somebody who, hey, you never know. In 2 years, he can become possibly a head coach. I don't know. Yeah. We've seen crazier, right? Look at Sean McVay. He was hella young and he, coach. Now, I'm not saying that Ryan's is young. He's a little bit older, but in the sense of coaching experience, right? It'd be something similar to where he hasn't been a coordinator for that long or a coach for that long, but somebody that maybe gets elevated to that type of position. And again, 49ers will get another couple draft picks. So I just think there's too much to like from that standpoint. He knows his players. He understands them. They know him. They understand him. I'm pretty sure he'd be the first person to interview, maybe Chris Kasarik, but I really like a lot of what DeMeco Ryan just has to offer from that standpoint.
Yeah. DeMeco Ryan, you just look at his career playing in the NFL. He was a first-team All-Pro, was a Pro Bowler twice. I went back and watched a mic'd up or a sound FX of DeMeco Ryan's because I wanted to see what kind of energy he brought. He's Robert Saleh. You could see he has that same energy, and I think that's what makes Robert Saleh so special. Why the defense rallies around him is because he's a leader of men. He gets people fired up, and DeMeco Ryan has those same qualities, and that is often overlooked. It's not always going to translate to being a great defensive coordinator, the scheming up plays and calling the right plays in the right situations, blitzing when you're supposed to blitz, not blitzing when you're not supposed to blitz. That's all important, but being able to rally men and get people to buy into what you're preaching is so important. And when I'm more concerned about all these coaches leaving the 49ers than any of the players, when you're looking at the run game coordinator, the pass game coordinator, the defensive coordinator, all potentially leaving, and then you have the front office things going on. I'm more worried about that than losing a Jason Verrett or a Kerry Hyder. How this shakes out with the defensive coordinator, it's going to say a lot about Kyle Shanahan over the next couple of years if it does not work out well. But I think the safest bet is DeMeco Ryans for the sake of chemistry, continuity, all of the above. It would seem like the most seamless transition. So Ryans has my vote. It's the most logical hiring, in my opinion.
And good teams do that. That's what they do. They develop coordinators.
Yes.
They lose guys to coaching jobs, and they promote the next guy up. We've seen the Patriots do it for years. A lot of places. That's what they do. They develop their guys, and you go to the NFL. Okay, here comes the next guy up the tree. Okay, you go get a head coaching job. Okay, here comes the next guy. And that could be kind of maybe what Kyle Shanahan ends up doing. He's already had guys leave to be coordinators. He's had a bunch of guys under him coach and be successful in other places. Some not be as successful like the offensive coordinator that went to the Broncos. But, I could definitely see something like that happen. People think that like, these guys just go get this guy, this retread or this retread. But you don't have to do that, man. You develop your guys just like you develop football players. You kind of next man up. You have coaches that have been around. They've done all the cut-ups and scouting and all this stuff. And they work their way up, and next thing you just bring them along, and next thing you know, they're in a position like DeMeco Ryans could be.
Yeah, and I think DeMeco Ryans should be the guy, but a couple names that I think we have to keep an eye out for. Gus Bradley, just departing the Chargers. That was Kyle's first guy when he got the head coaching gig. That Gus Bradley was his dude. Obviously didn't get him. And then another guy, Raheem Morris. If he doesn't get a head coaching job, he could be another candidate, but I personally would go straight to DeMeco Ryans and say, hey, this is your job as long as you want it. The reason being is because Fred Warner already knows DeMeco Ryans. Both of them see eye to eye together. And when your middle linebacker and your defensive coordinator are on the same page, it makes everything a lot easier because you could go to the sideline, you could talk to them, hey, coach, they're running a lot of this, they're running a lot of crossers on us. Let's change some shit up. So I think that's what they could potentially do, and I think DeMeco Ryans should be the next defensive coordinator for the 49ers.
And we do a lot of talking about Fred Warner. He deserves so much of the praise. He had a phenomenal season. Dre Greenlaw is a name that's often forgotten, and he's a cornerstone of the defense too. Watching Dre Greenlaw over the course of the second half of the season, he looked like just as good of a linebacker and at times even better than Fred Warner. His closing speed and his burst, the plays that he was making, and DeMeco Ryans, that's a fifth-round pick that DeMeco Ryans helped develop. So when you have two linebackers like Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, and your defensive coordinator's leaving and your linebacker coach who has grown with these young men, it's a no-brainer to me. It should be the absolute first choice of Kyle Shanahan, DeMeco Ryans. Let's do a bonus question. It could be a one-word answer. It only needs to be a one-word answer unless you want to expand on it. Super Bowl winner. Who's going to win the Super Bowl this year?
Kansas City.
Marco?
Bills. I'm rolling with the Bills. I don't know
I'm
why.
going to go with the Bills too. If there's an AFC championship game between the Chiefs and the Bills, I like the Bills. I think they're the one team that can do it. And if Kansas City reaches,
I can't bet against KC. I can't bet against.
Yeah, that's tough. All right. Well, this concludes our episode of the Faithful Fanatic podcast. We were joined by Eric Crocker. Eric, thank you so much for being on with us. If you don't follow him, make sure to give him a follow at Eric_Crocker. Thank you guys for tuning in.